In this podcast episode, Alex O'Connor discusses the phenomenon of a potential Christian revival, particularly among right-wing thinkers and cultural commentators. He notes that there's an emerging class of thinkers who are unwilling to affirm the truth claims of Christianity, but are sympathetic to or adjacent to Christianity. These include figures like Douglas Murray, Konstantin Kisin, and to some extent, Jordan Peterson. O'Connor references his friend Justin Bry's book about the surprising rebirth of belief in God, but suggests it may be too optimistic. O'Connor explains that these thinkers often call themselves cultural Christians, a term even used by prominent atheist Richard Dawkins. They appreciate aspects of Christianity without believing in its core tenets. This creates a strange reversal of the usual criticism leveled at nominal Christians. Instead of believing, but not practicing, these cultural Christians practice without believing. The conversation touches on Tom Holland's thesis that Western civilization is essentially Christian without realizing it. This idea has gained traction among those who want to preserve Western ethics and values, leading some to embrace Christianity as a bulwark against perceived threats to Western civilization. O'Connor suggests this trend may be a reaction to the vacuum created by new atheism and the subsequent filling of that vacuum by ideologies that some find concerning, such as wokeism or Islamism. He notes that right-wing thinkers, in particular, are turning to Christianity as a defense against these ideologies. The discussion then shifts to the Gnostic Gospels, a collection of early Christian texts not included in the canonical New Testament. O'Connor explains that these texts, discovered in 1945 near Nag Hammadi in Egypt, provide insight into the diverse beliefs of early Christian communities. He highlights the Gospel of Thomas, a collection of sayings attributed to Jesus, some of which align with the canonical Gospels, while others are more esoteric. O'Connor also mentions the Gospel of Judas, which presents a radically different interpretation of Judas's role in Jesus' story. These Gnostic texts often present alternative cosmologies, with some positing the existence of a demiurge, a lesser god responsible for creating the material world. This concept contrasts sharply with mainstream Christian theology. O'Connor emphasizes the fascination these texts hold for scholars and the public, as they offer a window into the diversity of early Christian thought. However, he notes that for many Christians, the discovery of these texts has actually reinforced their faith in the canonical scriptures, as the Gnostic texts often seem more outlandish or inconsistent with their understanding of Jesus' teachings. The conversation turns to the appeal of Christianity as a response to nihilism and a lack of meaning in modern life. O'Connor discusses the case of Ayaan Hirsi Ali, a former prominent atheist who recently converted to Christianity. He notes that her conversion seems to be more about finding meaning and escaping nihilism than about accepting specific theological claims. This leads to a discussion about the difference between believing in the tree, the core beliefs of Christianity, and appreciating the fruits, the ethical teachings and cultural products of Christianity. O'Connor suggests that many people are attracted to the fruits without necessarily believing in the tree, which creates an interesting tension in contemporary discussions about religion. Williamson and O'Connor discuss the power of narrative and storytelling in conveying moral principles as opposed to scientific truth claims. They explore the idea that humans may need to personify wisdom and couch it in broader narratives, like religion, to make it more accessible and impactful. O'Connor suggests that this turn towards narrative and away from purely propositional truth claims represents a reemergence of the right brain, a way of looking at the world that legitimizes poetry, art, and music as ways of understanding reality. The conversation touches on the political aspects of this potential Christian revival. O'Connor notes that in the UK, unlike in the US, there isn't a strong Christian right political movement. He speculates on whether this could change in the future, with some right-wing groups potentially adopting more explicitly Christian rhetoric. However, O'Connor is skeptical about how much of a genuine revival is occurring, noting that church attendance and self-identification as Christian have been steadily declining in the UK. He suggests that what some are calling a revival might be more of a shift in how some intellectuals and cultural commentators talk about Christianity, rather than a broad-based return to Christian belief and practice. Williamson and O'Connor discuss potential future trends, including the possibility of a slowing or reversal in the decline of Christianity in the UK. They also touch on related issues like declining birth rates in some countries and changing demographics in the UK. O'Connor expresses interest in how these trends might develop and how they might affect public discourse about religion and values. He notes that he's well positioned to comment on these issues given his background in studying Christianity and his interest in the intersection of religion, politics, and culture. The conversation concludes with Williamson expressing excitement about O'Connor's future work and potential commentary on these issues. O'Connor reiterates his fascination with Christianity and biblical scholarship and suggests that if there is indeed a Christian revival on the horizon, there will be many interesting questions to explore about the relationship between theology and politics. Throughout the discussion, both Williamson and O'Connor maintain a nuanced and thoughtful approach to these complex issues, acknowledging the difficulties in predicting cultural trends and the importance of considering multiple perspectives when discussing religion and its role in society.